Alright, this video is in regards to the 140 chassis Depot brand headlights. I just want to let you know that I've already pre-wired everything, so please take a good look at how the wire is done regarding the 5 to 4 euro conversion harness. So starting from the right to left, you got the top, which is the grounding negative, and then right next to it on the left is going to be the fog light, and then another red wire, which is the city light. So these two wires are controlling the parking and the fog lights, which they're going to turn on at the same time. The other thing you notice is right next to the left red wire, is underneath it is going to be yellow wire, and then right next to it on the right side is going to be the white wire. So you see 5 pins on here, everything plugged in. Please make sure to kind of push back the rubber sheathing and make sure that these metal pin slots have good contact on these pins. If any of these pin slots don't have any good contact on it, that function will not work because of a connectivity issue. So I have everything firmly plugged in. And then I'm going to be using my 12-volt power supply, which mimics a car battery, to run the testing on all these functions. So I have my grounding negative with the brown wire already grounded, and I have my positive test lead that I'm going to be using to test these functions for you. So another word of advice I want to make sure is I have the H7 halogen bulb plugged in right here. It's plugged in, so make sure the halogen bulb's plugged in on this side. This is for the fog lights. And I have an H4 halogen bulb plugged in here as well. So make sure that there's a halogen bulb plugged inside here. If this connector is just hanging out, that means you don't have a bulb inside there, and the low and high beam will not work. So this is an H4 halogen bulb right here. That being said, I'm going to go ahead and run through the testing, turn on my power supply. Starting with the city light and the fog light function, you can see it clearly works. Awesome, and you can see that I'm using my 12-volt test lead to power this red pin on. Next, it's going to be what I understand is the low beam, the yellow wire. And the next thing you're going to see is the high beam, which is a brighter wire. I'm sorry, a white wire, which is the brighter light of the H4 filament. So again, if you don't have any contact being successfully made in this 4-pin connection on your US spec Mercedes-Benz connector, then already you're going to have a connectivity issue and not be able to power the headlights. So what I ask for you is making sure that each of these pin slots, when you have the square connector, open up that connector so you can properly make contact with each of these pins to the appropriate power that's coming out. And that thing, I've already supplied the diagram for that via email, so please use that to make sure that the pin layout is correct. If in the case the pin layout is incorrect, you could always use a voltmeter to plug in each of the holes, finding the grounding negative first, to test to make sure. So meaning if you run a low beam and you get a reading on that pin, then you know that's a low beam pin. And that way, if you figure out the low beam pin, you could use this yellow wire, which is the low beam wire, to plug into that pin hole. Next thing, you do the same thing for the high beam. You'll have someone flicking the high beam on, and then you'll see that with the voltmeter, you'll figure out which pin has a reading for the high beam. Once you figure that out as well, use a white wire to plug into that hole. The last one is going to be the fog light, which is combined with the city light. So if you have a fog light button, go ahead and turn that on, get a reading. Once you get a reading for the fog lights, this is where the red wire will go and plug into the square connector on your vehicle. Once you get all these 4 pins connected successfully on your US spec Mercedes-Benz connector, you should be able to power everything on because it's just a 12-volt power supply supplied by your car, supplied to the headlights to turn it on. There's nothing too I guess complicated in regards to the wiring because everything's rather analog. There's nothing digital about these headlights, so it's just a matter of applying power to the appropriate pins, to the appropriate wires to get the halogen bulbs lighting up. So hopefully this gives you a good overview and understanding just how to get these wired up. If any other questions, if you have any a smartphone that you can use to video document what your installer is doing and how he's wiring it up, please show that to me so that I can review it clearly, how he's wired it on his end and how he's wired it on your depot headlights. So I want to make sure everything is correct. That way, we can figure things out. So this concludes the video. Thanks so much for your time.